Did you know that a seemingly innocent round pastry could trigger a brutal multi-generational war in American kitchens, double as an actual defensive weapon, and once threaten to engulf an entire town in a catastrophic volcano of boiling liquid caramel? Today is July 9th, which means it is National Sugar Cookie Day in the United States. You might think we are just looking at a boring combination of flour, butter, and sucrose, but if you think this holiday is simple, well, prepare to have your mind completely blown. This is a story filled with early American survival tactics, a cutthroat molecular battlefield over gluten strands, and a massive 40,000-pound engineering stunt that nearly ended in an absolute disaster. Look, if you eat a sugar cookie the wrong way or choose the wrong chemical configuration of sweetener, you are not just making a bad snack. You are creating a tooth-shattering dental nightmare capable of sending you straight to the emergency room. Let us roll the historical clock back all the way to the mid-1700s. Deep within the cold, rugged territory of Colonial Pennsylvania, a deeply traditional group of German Protestant settlers known as the Moravians founded a tiny town called Nazareth. These settlers were not looking for gold. They were looking for a way to survive the brutal, unforgiving winter seasons that regularly froze their crops solid. To prevent starvation and boost their caloric intake, the Moravians combined massive blocks of heavy farm butter, mounds of raw colonial sugar, eggs, and flour into a round, crumbly, incredibly rich pastry. This creation quickly became famous across the colonies under the name of the Nazareth Cookie. It was the ultimate status symbol of early American hospitality. If a traveler knocked on a colonial door and the host did not immediately offer a fresh Nazareth cookie, it was considered an absolute historical insult, basically signaling that the owner wanted you to leave their property immediately. But what started as a holy tool for survival quickly sparked an absolute civil war that divided American households for centuries. This was not a war fought with iron cannons, but with heavy rolling pins and extreme oven temperatures. The lines were drawn between two fanatical culinary factions. On one side, you have the absolute control freaks of the baking world, the cut-out cookie purists. These people demand mathematical perfection. They obsess over density, forcing the dough into near-freezing temperatures for hours just to freeze the lipid structure solid. They roll the starch out with surgical precision and slam heavy metal cutters into the mixture. If a single cookie loses even a millimeter of its sharp geometric edge during the baking process, it is considered an absolute failure that goes straight into the trash. Naturally, to finalize their rigid masterpieces, they coat the top with royal icing, like a mixture of sugar and egg white proteins that cures into a rock-hard, glossy shield. It looks beautiful, but it honestly functions like a literal piece of body armor that could break your jaw if you bite down too fast. Conversational tone? On the exact opposite side of this chaotic battlefield, you have the ultimate rebels of the baking world, the drop cookie faction. These bakers look at metal cutters and rigid rules and experience an absolute peak of indifference. They don't have time for chilling dough or measuring geometric edges. They just grab a sloppy, uneven scoop of soft dough, roll it carelessly in coarse granulated sugar, and chuck it directly onto a scorching hot pan. The result is a crinkly, rustic, completely unpredictable mountain of buttery sweetness. Well, just when everyone thought the kitchen war couldn't get any more intense, the Amish traditional community entered the conversation, and honestly, they caused an absolute plot twist that left everyone completely shocked. Conversational tone? You see, they decided to throw the holy grail of baking, traditional farm butter, completely out the window. Instead, they substituted it with pure vegetable oil. Now, to the traditional European bakers, this was an absolute crime against humanity, like a move that should have resulted in a total disaster. But here's the scientific plot twist. Butter actually contains roughly 16% water, which activates the proteins in flour to create tough, elastic gluten strands when mixed vegetable oil. Being 100% pure liquid fat acts as a molecular shield. It coats every single starch particle, completely blocking gluten formation right from the start. The result? It was a cookie so phenomenally soft, a texture so intensely melt in your mouth that the entire baking community was left completely speechless. Then came the ultimate molecular betrayal that changed the entire sweet industry forever. Food scientists discovered that if you replace standard granulated sugar with commercial powdered sugar, the entire density profile of the pastry undergoes an extreme mutation. Look, powdered sugar contains an unhinged secret ingredient, a 3 to 5% blend of pure cornstarch added to prevent clumping. This microscopic powder acts as a high-powered moisture vacuum inside the oven. It locks up loose water molecules, stops the dough from spreading excessively, and yields an ultra-dense, velvety cookie structure that dissolves the exact millisecond it hits your tongue. It was a total game changer, causing millions of old-school bakers to abandon their traditional family recipes in a state of sheer panic. Now, let's fast forward all the way to the year 2000. This is the exact moment when the American obsession with sugar cookies left the realm of sanity and entered a territory of pure madness. A company in North Carolina called the Immaculate Baking Company decided that normal-sized pastries were strictly for amateurs. They wanted to build a colossal monument to sucrose, so they assembled a rogue team of engineers, commercial bakers, and heavy construction crane operators. Their objective? To bake the single largest sugar cookie in human history. This was not a corporate joke, you know? They designed a staggering custom-built outdoor heating platform that resembled a space rocket launch pad more than a kitchen appliance. The logistics of this stunt were an absolute nightmare that went completely into the history books. They utilized heavy machinery to dump over 40,000 pounds of raw dough onto the massive platform. We're talking about literal oceans of melted butter, mountain ranges of white flour, and literal tons of pure sugar. When fully rolled out, the giant disc measured over 100 feet in diameter. That is wider than a professional basketball court. I mean, imagine standing next to a single cookie that is literally larger than a multi-family suburban apartment complex. But as the heat turned on, the engineering team faced an absolute challenge. How do you bake a 40,000-pound mountain of raw dough evenly without burning the outer perimeter into a crisp sheet of black charcoal while leaving the entire center completely raw and gooey? The operators were sweating cartoon droplets, let me tell you. They had to deploy high-tech thermal imaging cameras and a complex grid of independent heating elements to monitor the surface temperature minute by minute. If the heat fluctuated by even a few degrees, the entire 40,000-pound mass would experience an absolute chemical failure. The massive ocean of sugar would instantly liquefy into a raging, boiling river of molten caramel, creating a terrifying industrial hazard that could engulf the entire facility. People held their breath for hours as the heat radiated across the field. And then, against every single mathematical and physical odd, the experiment worked perfectly. They pulled off the ultimate achievement of human absurdity, producing a flawlessly baked, historically certified hyper cookie that proved Americans will stop at absolutely nothing to celebrate their favorite treat. Back in our modern everyday world, celebrating National Sugar Cookie Day has evolved into a highly competitive extreme sport. People set up elaborate topping bars in their homes that look less like a kitchen and more like a chaotic, unhinged modern art studio. You have bowls of neon-tinted frosting, massive jars of multicolored sprinkles, and containers of reflective metallic edible glitter flying through the air, turning entire countertops into a literal disaster zone. Then you have the corporate office workers who try to host friendly cookie swaps. This sounds incredibly sweet and peaceful on paper, but in reality, it is a breeding ground for pure passive-aggressive drama. You always have that one lazy coworker who brings a rushed batch of slice and bite cookies that look like sad, deformed discs of black carbon because they forgot to set their smartphone timer. Meanwhile, the office overachiever rolls up with a multi-tiered museum display of hand-painted, royal-iced masterpieces featuring individual gold leaf accents, making every other person in the building look completely incompetent. This brings us directly to the ultimate question that completely divides households every single July 9th. Do people actually enjoy the flavor of a heavily decorated sugar cookie, or are we all just consuming pure food coloring, industrial corn syrup, and aesthetic vanity? Let us be completely honest here, no lies allowed. Some of these modern cookie artists spend up to 8 hours detailing a single piece of pastry with intricate royal icing patterns. It looks like a priceless artifact you should find inside a climate-controlled museum vault. Taking a bite out of it feels like a literal crime against human creativity. But the exact second your teeth impact the surface, you realize it is as hard as a brick, completely devoid of moisture, and tastes mostly like disappointment and artificial preservatives. On the flip side, that ugly, totally misshapen drop cookie your neighbor slapped together with way too much butter and zero decoration might look like a complete visual disaster, but aha, it tastes like absolute heaven. To truly understand why this simple treat holds such a monumental grip on the American psyche, we must examine the sheer psychological profiling of the bakers themselves. When you walk into a kitchen dominated by a cutout cookie enthusiast, you're not walking into a place of culinary joy. You're entering a high-security laboratory. Every single movement is calculated. The flour must be leveled off with the flat edge of a knife with micromillimeter accuracy. The ambient temperature of the room must be kept at a precise setting to prevent the butter from reaching its premature melting point. These individuals view the rolling pin not as a tool, but as an instrument of absolute dominance over chaos. They roll out the dough, measuring the thickness across multiple points with digital calipers. They look down upon the drop cookie makers with a sense of refined aristocratic disdain, viewing them as culinary anarchists who lack the discipline to achieve true aesthetic greatness. But the drop cookie faction wears that disdain like a badge of absolute honor. For them, baking is an act of spontaneous passion, an emotional expression that cannot be confined by the rigid geometry of a metal cookie cutter. They believe that the true essence of a sugar cookie lies in its structural imperfections. The craggy peaks, the uneven caramelized edges, and the unpredictable spread of the dough on the baking sheet are celebrated as unique expressions of individuality. They argue that a cookie should look like it was made by a human experiencing joy, not by a high-precision industrial machine programmed to eliminate all signs of life. This philosophical divide goes far deeper than just a difference in technique. It represents two fundamentally opposing views of existence. One embraces absolute order and aesthetic perfection, while the other revels in glorious, buttery chaos. And then when you factor in the modern retail landscape, the entire sugar cookie dynamic enters another whole new dimension of commercial warfare. Walk into any high-end boutique bakery or supermarket chain during a major holiday, and you will see entire aisles dedicated to these sweet discs. The prices can be absolutely staggering. People will willingly fork over substantial amounts of hard-earned cash for a single individually wrapped sugar cookie just because it is shaped like a trendy mythical creature or a seasonal vegetable. The marketing machines have successfully convinced the public that the visual presentation of a cookie is far more important than its actual nutritional value or taste profile. It is a brilliant triumph of design over substance, where consumers are paying for the emotional validation of holding an aesthetically pleasing piece of pastry rather than the actual satisfaction of eating it. Meanwhile, behind the closed doors of industrial food production facilities, the scientific quest to engineer the absolute perfect commercial sugar cookie never stops. Chemists and food engineers work all the clock in sterile labs, analyzing the precise molecular breakdown of fat to sugar ratios. They conduct advanced sensory panel tests to determine the exact level of structural snap a cookie should have when broken in half and the precise rate of moisture absorption required to optimize the shelf life without turning the pastry into a soggy mess. They use sophisticated instruments to measure the exact release of volatile flavor compounds the moment the cookie is subjected to human mastication. It is a multi-million-dollar race to see who can create the most addictive combination of fat, sugar, and flour, utilizing advanced scientific principles to manipulate human biology and ensure that once you take a single bite, your brain demands that you consume the entire box. This brings us to the fascinating cultural phenomenon of the generational recipe vault. In many families, the exact formula for the holiday sugar cookie is treated with a level of secrecy that rivals high-level state intelligence. Grown adults guard their handwritten recipe cards with a fierce intensity, refusing to share the secret ingredients even with close relatives until they're ready to officially pass down the mantle of family baker. Is it an extra splash of pure vanilla extract, a hidden pinch of freshly grated nutmeg, or perhaps a specific brand of vintage shortening that has been discontinued since the late 1980s? The speculation can cause intense rifts during family gatherings, with amateur bakers trying to reverse engineer the legendary texture through intense taste testing and forensic kitchen analysis. The pressure to live up to the ancestral standard is immense, and a single failed batch can lead to years of subtle, passive-aggressive critiques around the dining table. But despite all the internal conflict, the high-stakes engineering disasters, the cutthroat scientific manipulation, and the intense kitchen rivalries, the sugar cookie remains an enduring pillar of celebration. It is a blank canvas upon which we project our grandest artistic ambitions and our deepest cravings for comfort. Whether you stand firmly with the mathematically precise cutout purists, run wild with the chaotic drop cookie rebels, or secretly indulge in the hyper-engineered, shelf-stable supermarket varieties that taste like sweet nostalgia, well, there is no denying the absolute power of this humble round pastry. It has conquered history, challenged science, and pushed human engineering to the absolute brink of absurdity. Look at the way we interact with these baked goods on a grand societal scale. We have elevated the sugar cookie from a mere culinary item into an essential psychological instrument of social diplomacy. Think about the neighborhood welcoming committees or the tense introductory meetings with future in-laws. What is the one universal peace offering that is guaranteed to lower defensive barriers and establish an immediate, albeit temporary, truce? It is a plate of carefully arranged sugar cookies. The act of offering these sweet treats signals an unspoken social contract. It signals that you have expended valuable time, energy, and resources to prepare something purely designed to trigger a massive dopamine release in the recipient's brain. To reject such an offering is to commit a profound social transgression, an act of overt hostility that can permanently damage interpersonal relationships before they even have a chance to develop. Yet underneath this thin veneer of societal harmony lies an incredibly complex economic framework that drives a massive global industry. The production and distribution of sugar cookie ingredients and specialized equipment represent a multi-billion-dollar market sector that operates with ruthless efficiency. Consider the specialized market for cookie cutters alone. What used to be a simple collection of basic geometric shapes has evolved into a hyper-segmented industry driven by advanced computer-aided design and rapid 3D printing technologies. Companies employ teams of trend analysts and industrial designers whose sole job is to predict the exact artistic aesthetics that will capture the public imagination 6 months in advance. A sudden surge in the popularity of a specific botanical pattern or an architectural style can instantly trigger a massive production shift, causing factories halfway across the world to retool their injection molding machinery to meet the sudden, frantic global demand. This economic machinery becomes even more pronounced when we examine the agricultural supply chains that make these pastries possible. The journey of a single sugar cookie begins in the vast agricultural heartlands of the world, where thousands of square miles of wheat fields, sugarcane plantations, and dairy farms are managed with industrial precision. The global commodity markets fluctuate wildly based on the projected demand for high-grade pastry flour and pure crystalline sucrose during peak baking seasons. A minor weather disruption in a key sugar-producing region or an unexpected shift in dairy production quotas can send shockwaves through the entire global food industry, ultimately altering the retail price of a holiday cookie box in a suburban supermarket. The scale of this operation is truly mind-boggling, demonstrating that our simple domestic baking traditions are intimately connected to the complex realities of international trade and global resource management. Even the physics of the baking sheet itself are subject to intense scientific investigation and engineering optimization. Serious bakers will engage in passionate debates regarding the precise material composition and structural design of their baking pans. Should one utilize heavy-gauge aluminized steel, solid copper, or modern flexible silicone mats? The implications for heat transfer and thermal conductivity are profound. A pan that is a fraction of a millimeter too thin will warp under the intense heat of the oven, causing the liquid fat to pool in one corner and resulting in an unevenly baked batch of cookies that are half burnt and half raw. Professional kitchens utilize high-performance, multi-layered sheets designed to distribute thermal energy with absolute uniformity across the entire surface area, ensuring that every single pastry experiences the exact same thermodynamic transformation during its brief stay in the oven. When we consider the incredible convergence of history, science, economics, and culture that surrounds this pastry, it becomes clear that National Sugar Cookie Day is far more than just a superficial social media holiday. It is a profound celebration of human ingenuity, artistic expression, and our collective desire for shared experiences. The sugar cookie is a cultural touchstone that has evolved continuously alongside our civilization, adapting to new technologies, changing tastes, and shifting social dynamics, while maintaining its core identity as the ultimate symbol of simple, sweet indulgence. It connects us to the early colonial settlers who fought for survival in the frozen wilderness, to the brilliant food scientists who unlocked the mysteries of molecular chemistry, and to the ambitious engineers who pushed the boundaries of what is physically possible in the pursuit of a shared dream. As you navigate the culinary landscape of this unique holiday, take a moment to truly appreciate the incredible story behind every single bite. Appreciate the meticulous discipline of the cutout purists who strive for geometric perfection in a chaotic world. Honor the wild, uninhibited passion of the drop cookie rebels who remind us of the beauty inherent in structural imperfection. Acknowledge the incredible scientific breakthroughs that allow a simple blend of fat and sugar to dissolve instantly on your tongue, delivering a concentrated burst of pure joy to your sensory receptors. The sugar cookie is a testament to our ability to transform the most basic ingredients of the earth into something truly extraordinary, a sweet monument to human creativity that will undoubtedly continue to inspire, delight, and occasionally divide us for generations to come. So, what is your ultimate stance on this sweet national debate? Are you a hardcore control freak who demands a crisp, flawlessly geometric cutout cookie covered in a tooth-shattering, glossy shield of royal icing? Or do you prefer the chaotic, oil-infused, ultra-soft Amish drop cookie that crumbles into a million pieces the exact moment you look at it? Tell us which faction owns your loyalty.